Welcome back to the back office. I'm Dr. Bourne. And today we're going to be continuing with Convenience Store Woman, which I've only read the first 20 pages of with you and given a few impressions of, and going to do the same. I love your feedback if you wish. Send me feedback. Let me know how things are going. And we can always improve. All right, so let's get started back on page 20 here. The Hiromachi Station Smile Mart has remained open ever since that day, its lights on without a break. Sometimes I use a calculator to work out the number of hours that have passed since then. The other day, the store was open on May 1st for the 19th time, having been open continuously for 157,800 hours. I'm now 36 years old, and the convenience store worker, me, is 18. None of the other workers who did their training with me are here anymore, and we're now on our 8th manager. Not a single product on sale in the store at that time is left, but I'm still here. All right, so she's dating herself. We have an 18-year-old self in a 36-year-old body that hasn't aged. It appears to have stayed the same at the time of her training, and people have come and gone, but she's not. So we know of her so far. She's a cog in society. She keeps meticulous track of the hours, of the date and time that the store is open and that she's part of it. And she's feeling perhaps like she might herself be the only product left from the time that that convenience store was open. When I started here, there was a detailed manual that taught me how to be a store worker, and I still don't have a clue how to be a normal person outside of that manual. Even now, my parents indulgently look on as I remain in the same dead-end job. There were times in my 20s that I felt sorry for them and went through the motions of applying for career positions, but having only ever had the same job, I rarely even passed the screening selection. And even if I made it to an interview, I couldn't explain very well why I had spent so many years working there. Sometimes I even find myself operating the checkout till in my dreams. I wake up with a start thinking, oh, this new line of crisps is missing a price tag, or we've sold a lot of hot tea, so I'd better restock the display cabinet. I've also been woken up in the middle of the night by the sound of my own voice calling out, "Irashaimase!" When I can't sleep, I think about the transparent glass box that is still stirring with life even in the darkness of night. That pristine aquarium is still operating like clockwork. As I visualize the scene, the sounds of the store reverberate in my eardrums and lull me to sleep. When morning comes once again, I'm a convenience store worker, a cog in society. This is the only way I can be a normal person. You ever play Tetris too much at night or a video game too much and you end up dreaming that game? It seems like that's the simulation of life that she's in, right? She's only learned the product manual. It's like the game manual. And when she's in simulation, she knows what to do. And when she's out of simulation, all she can do is think of that simulation, seemingly. Right? And she tried to do other things, but it just didn't fit. She likes, perhaps, the pre-scripted life, since she can't figure out how to navigate life on her own. Let's continue. I arrive at the Hiromachi Station Smile Mart every morning after 8. My shift is from 9, but I come early to have breakfast before starting. I pick up a 2-liter bottle of mineral water, select a sandwich or bun close to its sell-by date, pay for them, and take them into the back room to eat. In the back room, the security camera in the store is relayed on a big screen. This morning, Dat-kun, a Vietnamese guy new on the night shift, was frantically working the till while the manager ran around, keeping one eye on him. I gulped down my sandwich, ready to change into my uniform and to rush out to help at any moment. Now, there's an interesting social change, right? Convenience store workers increasingly in Japan are coming from all over East Asia. In fact, last time I was in Japan, I had a wonderful Japanese conversation with a gal from, looked like she might have been from South Asia, maybe India. And we both smiled knowingly at each other, as foreigners tend to, while interacting in the lingua franca of the realm. But realizing that we are seeing more and more katakana name tags at these convenience stores from Vietnam, from Indonesia, Korea, wherever people may come. Because again, as maybe you know, there's an increasing labor shortage as Japan ages. All right, let's keep going. For breakfast, I eat convenience store bread. For lunch, I eat convenience store rice balls with something from the hot food cabinet. And after work, I'm so tired I just buy something from the store and take it home for dinner. She's really connected to this place. I drink about half the bottle of water while I'm at work, and then I put it in my eco bag and take it home with me to finish at night. That's a new thing at convenience stores as well. The old plastic bags that they used to just give you, they don't give you anymore. You have to pay for them. I think is it 7 yen? I think 7 yen is what I seem to remember. But that's been in the last few years as well. That if you don't need a bag, why would you want a plastic bag? You can carry a reusable bag, an ekobagu, and then that should ease up on some of the stuff you have to stick in landfill. So she has her own eco bag. When I think that my body is entirely made up of food from this store, I feel like I'm as much a part of the store as the magazine racks or the coffee machine. So she's a fixture. After breakfast, I check the weather forecast and go over the store's data. The weather forecast is a vital source of information for a convenience store. The difference in temperature from the previous day is an important factor. Today, we'll have a high of 21 degrees Celsius and a low of 14. It'll be cloudy, with rain forecast in the evening when it will feel even colder. On the hot days, sandwiches sell briskly, whereas on cold days, rice balls, meat dumplings, and buns are more popular. The sale of food from the counter cabinets also varies according to the temperature. In our branch, croquettes sell well on cold days. Croquette. Do you know what that is? Koroke in Japanese. It's a little potato dumpling, I guess you could call it a dumpling. It's kind of like you take mashed potatoes and you coat it in breadcrumbs, and then you deep fry it, and then you can eat it. You let you let the oil drain off. You dry it. Let it cool off a little bit. You can eat them hot. They're really tasty as a fried food. Sometimes they have a little bit of spice to them. You can put other sauces on them. And they have other kinds of croquettes with other things inside of them, like curry, for instance. But yeah, a croquette is a nice hot food item, so she's referring to that here. So she'll eat that on these brisk days here. So she says the croquettes sell well on cold days. Today there also happened to be a sales promotion running on them, so we would make a lot of them, I noted to myself. The other day shift staff always start arriving about now, just after 8:30. When the door opens and a husky voice calls out, "Morning!" It is Mrs. Izumi, our trusty supervisor. She's a housewife, 1 year older than me at age 37, and rather stern, but she's an efficient worker. She's a rather flashy dresser and changes out of her high heels into sneakers by her locker. "Early again today, Miss Furukura?" "Oh, that's one of those new buns, isn't it? What's it like?" she asked, her eyes settling on the mango chocolate bun in my hand. "The cream tastes weird and it smells a bit strong, which is quite off-putting. It's not very nice, actually." "Really? Oh dear, the manager ordered 100 of them. Well, let's at least try to sell the ones that arrived today." "Hi." By far, most of the store workers are university students or job hoppers, and it's unusual for me to work with a woman my age. When she says job hoppers, I wonder if she's saying furita, like free timers, people who work part-time. I gotta get the Japanese translation. Not translation, I gotta get the Japanese original. What am I saying? But it's fun to read the English translation. By far, most of the store workers are university students or job hoppers, and it's unusual for me to work with a woman my age. Mrs. Izumi tied her hair back and put on a white shirt and a light blue tie over her navy blue jersey blouse. When the current owner took over, he made us all start wearing a shirt and tie under our uniforms, although it was never the rule before. She was checking her appearance in the mirror when Sugawara came flying in, calling out, "Good morning!" Sugawara is 24, a loud and cheerful type. She's a singer in a band and goes on about wanting to dye her short hair red. She's a bit plump and not without certain charm, but often used to be late and was frequently scolded by the manager for wearing earrings at work. Thanks to Mrs. Izumi's forthright manner of scolding and educating her, however, she now takes her job much more seriously and is an enthusiastic member of staff. So there we have it. We have somebody who isn't necessarily fitting the uniform and the uniformity of the job that everyone else is expected. We even have new uniforms that the new manager instituted with a shirt and tie, and then we have this kind of friendly, outgoing girl who wants to change her hair, which is kind of a no-no for the corporate job, and she was wearing earrings, but of course she's been scolded, and now she's going to do the job the way she's supposed to. Also on the day shift are Iwaki, a tall and lanky university student, and a job hopper, Yukishita, who's now found a proper job and will be leaving soon. Iwaki has also said he'll be looking for a job and will have to take more days off, so the manager thinks he'll either have to come back to the day shift or employ someone new if the store is to keep running smoothly. My present self is formed almost completely of the people around me. I am currently made up of 30% Mrs. Izumi, 30% Sugawara, 20% the manager, and the rest is absorbed from past colleagues, such as Sasaki, who left 6 months ago, and Okasaki, who was our supervisor until a year ago. My speech is especially infected by everyone around me, and is currently a mix of that of Mrs. Izumi and Sugawara. I think the same goes for most people. When some of Sugawara's band members came into the store recently, they all dressed and spoke just like her. Here's a contrast now. Look, there's another kind of conformity, perhaps. When Sugawara's band members came into the store recently, they all dressed and spoke just like her. After Mrs. Izumi came, Sasaki started sounding just like her when she said, "Good job, see you tomorrow." Once a woman who had gotten on well with Mrs. Izumi at her previous store came out to help, and she dressed so much like Mrs. Izumi, I almost mistook the two. And I probably infect others with the way I speak. Infecting each other like this is how we maintain ourselves as human, is what I think. Now, that's interesting, because she talks about infection, but she's saying she's made up of other people, as if she herself, this localized self in this convenience store, doesn't really have a self, but is instead a conglomeration of all the others. But maybe that's true. Maybe we really are, various aspects of ourself, of our personality, can be said to be made up of those who informed that person, right? That ipse, to use Ricoeur's term, that we know ourselves to be, is often informed, maybe infected, as she says, speaking in kind of viral terms, by others around us. But what's interesting is she doesn't seem to have a core sense of self, except for when she's a kid, and that had to get sort of pulled out of her because she didn't understand the social way to be, with the instance of the little dead bird, or the teacher who wouldn't calm down, or the two who were fighting, who everyone wanted her to stop. So she's sort of conformed and then makes herself up of others. Outside of work, Mrs. Izumi is rather flashy, but she dresses the way normal women in their 30s do. So I take cues from the brand of shoes she wears and the label of the coats in her locker. Once she left her makeup bag lying around the back room, and I took a peek inside and made a note of the cosmetics she uses. People would notice if I copied her exactly, though, so what I do is read blogs by people who wear the same clothes she does and go for the other brands of clothes and kind of shawls they talk about buying. Mrs. Izumi's clothes, accessories, and hairstyles always strike me as the model of what a woman in her 30s should be wearing. Again, it's not about what she likes, it's what other people might expect. That's what's important. As we were chatting in the back room, her gaze suddenly fell on the ballet flats I was wearing. "Oh, those shoes are from that shop in Omotesando, aren't they? I like that place too. I have some boots from there." In the back room, she speaks in a languid drawl, the end of her words slightly drawn out. "I bought these flats after checking the brand name of the shoes she wears for work while she was in the toilet." "Oh, really? Well, what do you mean? Those dark blue ones you wore to the shop before? Those were cute," I answered, copying Sugawara's speech pattern, but using a slightly more adult turn. Her speech is rather excitable staccato, the exact opposite of Mrs. Izumi's, but mixing the two styles works surprisingly well. "We've got similar tastes, haven't we? I like your bag too," Mrs. Izumi said with a smile. It's only natural that my taste would match hers, since I'm copying her. I'm sure everyone must see me as someone with an age-appropriate bag and manner of speech that has a perfect sense of distance without being reserved or rude. All right, so if you don't know, in Japanese speech styles, there are gradients of levels. You have a very familiar speech style where we use kind of short forms of verbs. So if I'm talking to you like a friend, I'd say something like, "Oi, genki? Hey, how you doing?" Right? If I'm talking to somebody who's I don't know very well, I may say, "O genki desu ka?" And if somebody's a little higher up, you'd use more what they call sonkeigo, or polite Japanese, "O genki de irashaimasuka?" ka? Or something like that. So there's these speech levels. So she's saying here that she has just the right mixture of speech to keep a distance without being reserved or rude. That means not using too high of a speech level with somebody that would make her feel rude, but also not being too low where she's speaking almost so friendly that people would feel uncomfortable. Mrs. Izumi, were you in yesterday? Sugawara called out loudly as she changed by the lockers. The stock of ramen noodles is in a total mess. Yes, I was here. It was all right in the afternoon, but that kid on the night shift didn't turn up again, so it must have been the new guy, Datkun. Pulling up the zip on her uniform as she came over to us, Sugawara pulled a face. What? He left us in the lurch again? I can't believe it. He knows how short-staffed we are right now. No wonder the store's falling apart. There aren't any drink cartons out there at all, and it's the morning rush. I know. It's awful, isn't it? The manager says he'll have to stick to the night shift. He's only got new people on it at the moment. We're already having to manage without Iwaki on the day shift since he's taking so much time off for job interviews. What are we going to do? If people want to leave, that's fine, but they should make sure they give us enough notice, otherwise they're just making things difficult for the rest of us. Hearing the two of them speak with such feeling, I felt a twinge of anxiety. There wasn't a trace of anger in my body. I stole a glance at Sugawara and tried to mimic the way she moved her facial muscles as she spoke, the same way I did in training and parented. Really? He left us in the lurch again. I can't believe he'd do that knowing how short-staffed we are. Mrs. Izumi laughed as she removed her watch and rings. You're really worked up about it, aren't you, Miss Urukura? But you're right. It's really not okay. I'd noticed soon after starting the job that whenever I got angry at the same things as everyone else, they all seemed happy. If I went along with the manager when he was annoyed, or joined in the general irritation at someone's giving off the night shift, there was a strange sense of solidarity as everyone seemed pleased that I was angry too. I wonder if it's skiving. Skiving off the night shift? I've never heard that. Skiving off the night shift. Well, now, too, I felt reassured by the expression on Mrs. Izumi and Sugawara's faces. Good! I pulled off being a person, in scare quotes. A person. I'd felt similarly reassured any number of times here in the convenience store. So here we have a self that's very aware of its inability to be a standing self without becoming the people that she's expected to be based on their observation. So she's only concerned about the what Ricoeur would call the ipse self, the exterior self. Well, perhaps maybe the she's only concerned with what people see as the exterior, but she's not going to let people in on her interior self. Now, too, I felt reassured by the expression on Mrs. Izumi and Sugawara's faces. Good. I pulled off being a person. I felt similarly reassured any number of times here in the convenience store. Mrs. Izumi looked at the clock and announced, Well then, time for our morning practice session. Okay. The three of us stood in a row and started our morning routine. Mrs. Izumi opened the report book and informed us of the day's goals and matters to be attended to. Today's special is the mango chocolate bun. Let's all remember to keep announcing it. Also, it's cleanliness crackdown time. Lunchtime is busy, but even so, let's be diligent about keeping the floor, windows, and the area around the door clean. We're running out of time, and so I'll trust you to get on with it. Well then, let's practice our phrases, shall we? All together. Repeat after me. Irashaimase. Irashaimase. Certainly. Right away, sir. Certainly. Right away, sir. Thank you for your custom. Thank you for your custom. We all repeated in unison the phrases used with customers, checked our appearance, and one by one filed into the store, calling out "Irashaimase" as we walked. I was the last to rush through the office door. "Irashaimase! Good morning!" I love this moment. It feels like morning itself is being loaded into me. The tinkle of the door chime as the customer comes in sounds like church bells to my ears. When I open the door, the brightly lit box awaits me. A dependable, normal world that keeps on turning. I have faith in the world inside the light-filled box. All right, we'll stop there. That's page 30. So we are noticing the narrator is very self-aware of her own lack of ability to create a self or to express a self that's pre-existing. It's more like this self is being informed or quote-unquote infected by all the other people around her, and she wants to fit in and not cause a stir, possibly because of her childhood, that she learned that she was different. And so because of this, she needed to acclimate, and not just naturally acclimate, but actively achieve that acclimation by mimicking and absorbing and trying to fit in, even with this other woman who's a year older than her. Well, she should reflect what this woman looks like, since that woman clearly has her act together, And so to become more normal, she should reflect what this other woman looks like and absorb part of her persona. Then the last thing that we just read, she gets worked up. She pretends to be angry about the things that other people are angry about, and that causes a sense of closeness, right? This validation of someone else's feelings brings about a closeness that she's seeking, rather than her having a sense of feeling of her own that she should like to validate. All right, well, that's it for today's little visit to the back office with Japanese literature. I hope you enjoyed. If you'd liked, you know what to do. Click the like button. If you didn't, please do the other thing. And leave a comment, leave feedback. I'd love to hear from you. And we'll see you again. Have a great week. Bye now.